he was saying something like chocolates or jewelry or a blender.
We've been getting some new YouTube subscribers, and some of them we don't recognize. And in looking up who these people are, we found one that had a tip that we want to share with you, and we'll share that later in the video today. But first, how about you share with them some of the things that we've been doing this week to make some progress?
Well, we are continuing on our commitment to have 5 sticky notes worth of ideas each week. And that has really helped us progress on our idea of our plot, our characters, and where exactly we're going with that. We get together every week to share those with each other and synthesize that and get each other's feedback. And so that has really helped us progress our plot forward. We're not sharing any of those this week. They're all spoiler ideas. So stick around for next week when we will pick and choose some of the best ones and probably share those live with each other and get our live feedback in the video for that.
Those are always fun.
Yes.
One of the other things that we know is that all stories, regardless of how intense the plot line might be, they all need comic relief. And so this week we've started a page just to help us capture some different types of comic relief. And so we'll share some of those for you, specifically the types that work for novels.
Right. There are some types of humor that are really good for movies, but just don't translate to novels, like physical humor, facial expressions, slapstick, things like that, that the visual is the funny, just doesn't work well in novels.
Yeah, it'd be hard to describe on the paper enough to really get the humor of that.
Right.
Another is, personally, as the Dwyer family, we love puns. Those who know us probably are sick of hearing how many puns and just wordplay is fun for us. And that works. It works okay for Tom Swift novels, for those of you who are familiar with those. But generally, the general population doesn't seem to appreciate those that much.
Right.
So we've outlined a few forms of humor that we think do work well in narrative form. And one of those is the example of hyperbole, so exaggerating something. One example that I have found in my life, that when I share a characteristic of myself with people, they find it funny. And that is, I am so directionally challenged that I can get lost just trying to change lanes. So it's obviously that's not true, but when I say but when I say something like that, people have laughed. So that's a form of humor that works, and it would work well written form.
Another form, and this is something that you'll see comedians do all the time, and that is the ridiculous third. So we encountered an example of that just earlier this week, of somebody talking about Mother's Day gifts. And he was saying something like chocolates or jewelry or a blender. And obviously those first two are much more sentimental and more typical Mother's Day gifts. And the blender thrown in there as a third one that just kind of comes out of the blue and is funny because it's unexpected.
The third form is the honestly clueless. And several examples come to mind from the movie Monsters, Inc. And that is where Randall, I think it is threatening Mike Wazowski. And he says, well, when the big hand is here and little hand is here, the scare floor will be... And Mike goes, painted? I mean, it's obviously it's not the right answer. It's not because he's making something up, but he just really doesn't know what's going on. He is honestly clueless.
Our fourth one, and this is one that I use in my real life sometimes, and I guess to give an example of it is somebody's asking you for or you're having a discussion about some good short books to read. And somebody suggests, Animal Farm is a good one, or The Christmas Carol. And you're like, yeah, War and Peace, that's a really good short novel there to read. And you came up with the idea of synthesizing that one in the phrase, purposefully wrong. And just, that can be kind of paired with the ridiculous third there.
It could. or even the honest. It's similar in the reason it's funny, similar to the
Right.
honestly clueless, just because it is so obviously wrong. It's ridiculous. So lots of similarity and overlap there.
And there's kind of a difference in setup between that and the ridiculous third.
Mm.
The ridiculous third can sometimes be portrayed just as you, as the author, writing that in there as a part of the narrative and not from a character themselves. The purposefully wrong is something that would come from a character suggesting something that is obviously not what is being asked.
Right. So those are the things that we have so far for different forms of humor that will work well as we write our novels. But I promised you earlier that I would share a tip that I learned from a new subscriber. So shout out to Michael Pittman. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. I looked to see, so who is this Michael Pittman who subscribed? And I found a short that he posted.
And you have not shared this with me yet.
Right.
So I'm hearing this for the first time right now.
Right. So the tip was, and I'm going to see, Michael, I'm trying to see if I can portray this correctly, but the idea is when you escalate the seriousness of the situation that a person is in, and there's a phrase for that that escapes my mind, but when the situation gets super
raising the stakes,
thank you, that is the phrase. When you raise the stakes of the situation, also raise the level of description of the depth of emotion that you describe that your characters are feeling.
Interesting. So is that just like, I guess, going into more detail about their emotion, or is it just I don't know what I'm trying to ask here, but
in a way, as I understand it, it would be either their emotions actually get more intense,
okay,
which in my mind would almost require you to go into more detail to be able to express the depth of the fear or grief or anguish or whatever it is that they're feeling.
I guess my question was, are their emotions getting more intense, or is your description getting more detailed? And I guess the answer is yes.
And it probably depends on exactly how the stakes are raised.
Right.
But thank you, Michael, for that short. I can't remember how long ago it was posted, but I just discovered it. So I appreciate that. But as we look at the forms of humor, that was our big topic for today. And I'll invite any of you who are watching, subscriber or not, add to the comments and share with us what other forms of narrative humor that you think can work for writing a novel. And we will look forward to seeing you all next week.